Good evening, South Brunswick. I call the meeting to order. Please rise to salute the flag. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Public Meeting Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend these meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of this act, the board secretary has caused notice of this meeting, including date, time, and location, to be posted in the South Brunswick Public Library and the board office, filed with the township clerk, and communicated to the Home News and Star Ledger. Mr. Pulaski, roll call, please.
Mr. Roger Turson. Here. Mr. Ray Keener.
Present.
Ms. Joyce Mehta.
Here.
Mr. Mike Mitchell.
Present.
Dr. Stephen Parker.
Here.
Dr. Smith Raj.
Present.
Mrs. Lisa Rogers.
Here.
Mr. Joseph Scaletti.
Here.
Mr. Barry Nathanson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Pulaski. Motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda, please.
So, moved by Mr. Keno. I have a second. Second by Joe Scaletti. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Before I turn it over to Mr. Feder, tomorrow is 9/11.
Saturday.
Oh, Saturday, sorry. Tomorrow's Friday. It's 20 years, and it seems like it was yesterday. And the thing I remember oriented to schools is that schools were the safest place for our children to be. There were several parents that were stuck in New York. We had kids in each school. I believe they were in the cafeterias waiting for their parents to come home. And unfortunately, there were a few that didn't come home. So I would like to have a moment of silence for those that were lost overall at 9/11, and especially the 4 that were lost in South Brunswick. Thank you. Move along. Report of Superintendent Schools. Mr. Feder.
If you don't mind, I'd like to yield to Victoria.
Okay,
You ready?
go ahead.
Victoria is our new student representative from the high school. Awesome, awesome, awesome kid, and glad to have you. And I'll turn it over to you, Victoria.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Testing. Okay. Good evening. My name is Victoria Goot, and I'm excited to be your Board of Education representative. The high school welcomed the students back with a clap-in today. Around 70 student volunteers cheered on our students and staff as they entered the building. The high school will be hosting 2 club fairs for students to see what our clubs have to offer. This will be on September 21st to the 22nd during all the lunches. Today is the game opener for all fall sports. This Friday at 6 o'clock, the Vikings football team is going to go against Piscataway at the Piscataway High School. We encourage everyone to come and support our team the Viking Spirit way and bring their team spirit. We are so excited to bring our athletes into action, see this year, and wishing them all the best of luck with a season filled with lifelong memories. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. And welcome. Glad to have you. Okay, going back to Mr. Feder, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Ms. Nathanson. Well, I really was hoping for about 400 people here today, all here to thank our amazing staff. I was hoping for that. But I'm a realist, and I kind of Hoped, maybe not expected. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for you. I think we have to start by considering the magnitude of today. Today was a day where, for the first time since March 10th, 2020, we had over 8,000 students on our premises and 1,300 staff, all here at the same time. That's close to 10,000 people all at once. We're still in the middle of the pandemic, yet that was our task today, to begin the education process of over 8,300 students in the midst of what we're going through right now. That alone should have brought the entire community out here to thank our amazing staff, to be honest with you. But I'm going to start off with busing. And I do apologize in advance to the board, to the public. This is not going to be the shortest of my speeches. I'm going to start off with busing. Now, I understand there might have been some chatter about busing not being perfect today. And all I can say is if anyone actually thought busing was going to be perfect today, this must have been the first time they've ever had a child in a school, ever. Or ever been a child in a school, ever. So let's take into consideration what actually today was. Today was the first day of school. In a normal year, on the first day of school, you're going to have issues with busing. Why? Well, we're still dealing with buses not having drivers. Last night, for example, we received a call from one of our companies that said, we're only short 9 routes for you tomorrow. 9 drivers, so each do a route. So that's each do 2 routes, that's 18 short. That gave Jill Odignon, our transportation coordinator, her team, about 3 minutes to figure out how to do that. Knowing Jill, which I have known Jill for, a long time. Let's go with 11, 12 years. I knew she would do it, and she did it. And I remember getting her an update for her about 2 hours later saying, I got it, I think we're good. And then, of course, you find out later that someone calls out, or this happens, or that happens. So to start off on first day of school, we started off 3 drivers of ours left in the last week and 9 short. So 12 short. It's only 24 routes, not too bad. Figured it out. Now we have the first day of school. And of course, what happens on the first day of school, everybody? Downpour. Raining. What do we know about the first day of school? We know that we're still getting used to things. We know that parents are first getting used to things. We know that kids are getting used to things. That's the first day of school. This year's compounded because we actually had 2 grades of students in every school that for the first time could have been on a bus ever in that school, right? Not 1 grade, 2 grades. Then let's factor, we have a pandemic. What are people not doing on a pandemic? They're not all putting their kids on the bus. When we factor all that in, we're talking about significant issues. I was at the high school this morning, got there around 6:45, and you already started seeing kids being dropped off. By around 7:20, I think the line was almost a Target by the time those kids got in, because why? People are still driving for the first day, which would have happened on any first day, compounded greatly by other. Totally fine, totally get it. So what happens is the logjam starts at the high school. Were buses on time at the high school? No, they weren't. They were late. Why? It's first day of school. Then that late becomes later, because then the second thing happens, and the third thing happens, and the fourth thing happens. So for me, the fact that we got our kids to and from school today, that's a victory. Now, were we perfect? We weren't even close to perfect. In fact, I wish I could tell you tomorrow will be perfect, but we won't be perfect tomorrow either. Sadly, we won't be perfect on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. Hopefully, the driver shortage will somehow miraculously not affect South Brunswick, and Ray, hopefully not North Brunswick, and it'll all miraculously just be better, because there's no shortage anywhere else in the world, but of course there is. So we're dealing with that. But let's think for a minute. Our drivers absolutely blew us away. They did an amazing job. The transportation department did an amazing job. I can't say enough. So for all the parents that forgot to come out tonight to say thank you to our drivers, I'm going to do it for you drivers. Amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, I don't want to be flippant. We actually had a kid or 2, I think 2 kids that were on the wrong buses. That's a scary thing. They were little kids. That can never happen, and we own that, and we have to fix that. I thank the parents for reaching out to us and bringing that to our attention. In one of the cases, and of course, we were dealing with that as the afternoon went on today. That's a scary moment for the parent, certainly for the child, certainly for the district. That is the kind of thing where we never want to see happen. And we do apologize to those families and specifically those children as well. I want to move to schools themselves. Now, our schools, we have a shorthanded crew. Let's be honest. We are not nearly full-staffed, yet our guys come in, our women come in, and they have done an amazing job. Of course, what happens last week? We flood. We get water everywhere. We have floods at South. We have floods at Black Horse. We have floods at Greenbrook. We had floods. Fortunately, again, we were not nearly as bad in some other places, so we feel like we got it lucky. We are one of the luckier districts in our county even to not deal with that. But we are still dealing with short-handed staff. Yet when you walk in those buildings, they are sparkly, they are shiny, they are crisp. It is amazing what these men and women did to make it so welcoming for our staff and our students, our families. Amazing. So to all of our custodial crew, our maintenance guys, Brian Redfield, our new director, just wow and thank you. Unbelievable. So let's move to our learning environments. Now that is all the people that make a classroom be what it is. It's our parents, our teachers, anyone involved in making that special. Wow. So we have to still get all these kids into school. We're managing COVID. We're trying to figure out how to make sure we keep kids safe. Can't forget about they're nervous, they're scared, their parents are nervous, they're scared. The questions are out, just incredible amount of questions. But it doesn't matter. They still did it. They made it happen. Amazing, amazing professional people. And not only that, they also were able to create rooms that looked beautiful, that looked welcoming. And that was with a day out. They lost a day last week as we had to close the buildings because of Ida, the storm. So our teachers and our paras that might have been working in those rooms lost the opportunity to do that. And still they did it. And these rooms now are filled to capacity, right? And normally that is normal for us. But that's a very nerve-wracking situation right now that we have all of our kids back. Again, March 10th, 2020 was the last time this happened. That's the gravity of understanding that is so important. But it doesn't seem to matter. It doesn't seem to matter because our staff plows through it. I was walking around buildings yesterday and happy person after happy person. It's amazing. Teachers, paras, second, everybody. It's absolutely amazing the quality of people that work in this district and do this every day for our kids. So to all of the people that made those in Learning Diamonds and Special, I don't even know what to say. I'm running out of words because all I can keep saying is awesome, wow, amazing. You put your adversity aside and you made it exceptional for these kids, regardless of what you might have been facing yourself. No words for that. Let's look at what got us to here, the planning and the preparation. So now we're talking about all the people who spent the last 2 months getting these buildings ready, getting the schedules ready, getting all the rules and routines ready. That's our administrators, that's Black Horse Lane, our secretaries. All these people, our nurses, it's incredible. You could not imagine the amount of time. Everyone could say, well, big deal, that's their job. Yep, it is their job. And they can choose to do their job with absolute exception, or they can do their jobs and just walk through them. Well, this is a group of people that I would follow into anything. They are amazing. What we were able to accomplish to get these schools where they are, where class placements are done, and all the changes, and I think my emails were probably going at about, I'd say, close to an email every 3 or 4 seconds for the last week. And I'd imagine the principals were about the same. And real questions from people of concern, people that have a lot of questions. They're just not sure. And the fear of it. We've had about 35 people at this time have decided to homeschool their children because of their concerns for safety. Not concerns for South Brunswick, but the concerns for safety. And it's tough. But yet, these last 2 months, you know, I don't know. Again, I can't say enough. I am thrilled to be part of their team, and they are truly amazing. There's a special group I want to talk about because they kind of have to be stuck with me. That's the nurses. So I kind of worked closely with the nurses this last year. And I just apologize to you guys. I have to keep listening to me. But they are managing so much. And the travel, how many people traveled? It's unbelievable how many people traveled. And then we have a situation where last night, you'll love this, yesterday around 3 o'clock, maybe 4 o'clock, I'm not sure, the health department calls James Conroy. He's our safety specialist, kind of one of our COVID czars. And he doesn't like that term, but he's not here to defend himself. So COVID czar. And, oh, by the way, Mr. Conroy, just letting you know that you have a student who tested positive on September 2nd. Okay. And just so you know, that student played for a sports team and was in contact with the whole team, not even a week ago. That's the first we heard of that. That was the first we heard of that, was last night. We had to then try and find all of that information to protect our students and staff and make sure we quarantined correctly based upon the information we received yesterday. This is what we're facing. The nurses have jumped in every single step, meetings over the summer, responding to emails, drafts of things. It's amazing. And I know they're in for a challenge. So again, to our nurses, thank you so much. And again, you know, this happens. And I know, I mean, I don't read Facebook anymore in South Brunswick. I refuse to read it anymore. I'd imagine there's some good things on there. But I also imagine, and people keep sending me stuff, keep asking me not to send me stuff, but people keep sending me stuff. There's complaints. Of course there's complaints. The buses were too slow. The lunch lines were too long. Yes, I know. But can someone please start a Facebook page that says amazing, thank you, amazing, thank you, and then start naming all the amazing people in this district one after the other with what they've done to get us here. Just imagine that positive impact on a community. Does that mean you shouldn't complain or that I dismiss your complaints? I don't. I will tell you, and I will repeat this over and over again, you can complain on Facebook till your hands bleed. I will not read it. I will not respond to it. If you have an issue, if you have a complaint, you start with the person most directly involved in the issue. We will try to help. Will the lines be shorter tomorrow? I don't know. Right now, Chartwell's is only half staffed, 50%. That's all they have. They're working on it. We're trying. We make advertisements. We do everything. They're 50% staff. So we're shorthanded. This building right now is shorthanded tonight to clean it. We're shorthanded everywhere. And yet, if I don't say it, people won't even realize it half the time. Yes, lunchrooms are going to be challenging right now. Free lunch for the entire universe and a shorthanded staff and all of our kids back on the first day of school with a full lunch program. Yeah, I'm sorry, and I wish it wasn't, and I hope tomorrow's better, and I'm sure by next week it will be much better, but it's not going to be easy, and this is not going to go away. Parents driving their kids to school, waiting on long lines, that's going to continue. The reason it's going to continue is if the number of parents, this is a math problem, so any engineers in the room, you should understand, we have too many cars going into too small a space all at the exact same time. I'm not saying anyone's wrong in doing that, but please just understand that is the reality of the situation. The high school, the core facility of the high school was built for 2,000 students. Some of that core outside facility was lost when we added 1,000 student annex. That means we increased the number of students by 50% and reduced the amount of space to welcome them in the mornings by a portion of that space. Now, that had to be done. No one's complaining about that. But it's going to cause the logjam. So I know right now people are not sending their kids on buses. I understand it. Not even going to challenge it in any way. I just ask people to understand no matter what school you're driving your kid to, it's going to be longer than normal. And that might not change at all if the pandemic is going to still cause people to feel more comfortable driving their kids. And again, I'm not going to ever challenge that. I'm never going to challenge a parent's choice and decision to do what they feel is best. So, with all that, I honestly hope tomorrow is a much better day. I hope that Monday is even better than that. But I end this little part of my opening today by thanking our amazing staff, thanking our amazing kids for being exceptional today, and for our families. You're going through a lot as well, and this is all not easy, and I wish I had more comforting things to say that everything is going to be perfect and no one's going to get COVID and there'll be no quarantining, but that's not really the reality we're in. And when we have rules to follow, including having all of our students in person at all times, and we're going to continue to be better, and we certainly welcome feedback, and we would love for people to provide that feedback with us. Share it with your teachers if there's a question or concern. Share it with your principals. Reach out to me. We're here for that. And I just know people that chose to live in South Brunswick, today you were met with an incredible group of people putting themselves in a position to do everything possible for your kids today. And I thank them, and I hope our entire community thanks them as well, even if there were some issues today, even if there were some issues, and even when there'll be issues tomorrow. So, with that said, I'd like to move on. One second.
meeting staff.
Just, sir, just so you know. No, hold. Just let me explain. What happens is, when I'm finished, then there's going to be an opportunity. It's called public comment. Mr. Nathan will announce that, and then you're up. All right? Thanks so much. I'm actually smiling under here. You can't see that. But thank you for coming today. Mr. Nathanson brought up September 11th. So what I want to do is just kind of gather just some understandings of what we do. This is the 20th anniversary of that horrible day. And Saturday, I know in the community there's a memorial for that and a nice day planned. As nice as you could have about this topic. But the different schools do different things, from little guys' moments of silence, reading some things to understand. The high school phys ed department and the PA club pay a tribute to those who lost their lives in 9/11 by completing 1,980 stairs to equal a total of 110 stories, the same number as the World Trade Center. We have donations to Tuesday's Children. We have schools that do an opening of the lesson of class. We'll have a verbal and visual prompts. Ask students to share what they have seen, heard, read about. So it's about bringing out people's feelings about a tragic situation in a controlled but strong way. We have teachers that share artifacts from the 9/11 Museum. A lot of just really important ways to get our kids to understand. I mean, remember, I think at this point, all of our students were not born when this happened. But like so much in our history, it's important to remember. It's important to honor. And I'm proud of our staff and for putting these things together and making sure that this day is honored. So again, you'll hear more from that from your child as the days come. And so it's always a tough time. And 20th anniversary adds a little bit more challenge to it. I just want to share a few pieces of information, and then Ms. Nathanson, I'll turn it back over to you. The Department of Education, the Department of Health, put out some various things for testing assistance. So just so you know, that information has been distributed, and if that interests you, please look into that on our website and any of our emails about that. Jill Ottagnon, our transportation coordinator, asked me to share some transportation reminders. So please remember, I'll just read it. Please remember that the bus pickup and drop-off times approximately can fluctuate by 10 minutes. Now, in all honesty, let's be realistic for the first few days. 10 minutes could be more like 20 minutes, even sometimes 30 minutes. I know being patient is difficult, especially in the rain, and that's hard. And when buses didn't show up today, I'm sure that even added to the number of people driving their kids this morning. The buses are coming. If the bus is not going to come for some reason, there will be notice. We also have to be sure that we're really good about notice when it's late. Today, the first day, it was very challenging just because of the enormity of the day, as well as, it's first day and things are going to be late today. But on a general rule, if you don't get word, generally the bus will be there, but there could be issues with that. Anytime a parent chooses to drive their kid, as I said before, totally for you. We would love for them all to take the bus, and certainly would make things easier, but we understand that. What we might be doing, just so you know, to the board, at some point, once we start getting into the swing of things and see what buses, we might look to collapse routes. And to do that, we might ask our parents to kind of confirm, we did this last year, if you remember, to confirm they're not going to be using the seat. And then from there, we might be able to reduce some routes. That helps us with the drivers when we have driver shortages. And it could be very helpful for the smoothness of the busing, the whole thing. So we can't do that yet because you really can't tell on the first day what's happening, or even the first week. So we'll take a couple of weeks, look at things, and then reach out to our families and see where we are. And that would be very helpful as well as we continue. Another couple announcements, quick back to school night. We know we've put this out, it's virtual this year. Again, that's just to avoid and mitigate unnecessary crowding. We already have a lot of crowding. We don't need to add more to it if we don't need to. It was successful last year. We're going to try it again this year, and we'll see what we learn from that. And I do want to tell the board, at our next board meeting at the end of the month, my team is going to put together a presentation for the board and the public on the ESSER funds. So we've received quite a bit, but it's also a little bit confusing. I think that you'll want to understand about how those funds have been allocated, how we are, what they actually have been allocated for by government, and then what is more free money and how we're looking to spend that. Just to be clear, while we have, I think we've been giving probably close to $6-7 million at this point across many different ways. That it's not that much as it sounds, because that's been for 2.5 years of spending. And again, when you compare that to districts that have received hundreds of millions of dollars for not many more kids than we have, it's not as much, but it is good and it is helpful, and we are using it and we're going to be using it. So you'll hear from us next meeting, a really comprehensive look at what we're doing, what we're planning, what's already been spent, so that the board and then the public can understand about those funds. It's a unique situation. We remember 2 years ago we were talking about, things like half-day kindergarten and courtesy busing, if you remember, because we were going to be looking at the other side of broke. And we have money now for this minute, but we have to be smart, and we still have taxpayer money. We can't just spend. So we're very strategic. I call it, we use scalpels when we spend, not cleavers. And we're actually very excited to share that with you. So expect that at our next meeting. And with that said, one more thanks to our amazing staff and faculty in South Brunswick. Proud to be here, and you don't know how, as a superintendent, you don't know how warm it is to know that things were going to go okay today. Like to wake up this morning and go to sleep last night knowing it was going to be fine today. I knew it wasn't going to be like the best day in the universe, but I want to sum up with one quote. This is a quote from one of our principals. I asked the principals, send me your extreme ups and downs from the day, just to make sure I had kind of a picture. And I'm going to share you one quote. One of the principals wrote, an extreme up. We had real school today. Made me happy. That is the perfect quote. And I agree with that person very much. Thanks to all. Thanks to the board for your incredible support over and over again. I know you get hit with a lot of things as well. And people expect things for you to solve the world as well. So we'll keep working together as a team and make amazing things continue to happen here. Mr. Nathanson, I turn it over to you.
Yeah, I also, on behalf of the Board of Education, I want to thank our staff. And, if you're going to steal someone, Mr. Fetter, Jill was the one to steal. So just so you know. I want to thank the staff for an amazing day. As a president of the school board, you're always waiting for that phone call to tell you what the disasters were going on. And as the day went on, I didn't get any phone calls, so I called Scott. I said, Scott, what's going on? Oh, no, everything's great. And I went, oh, my God, it was an amazing day. So I wanted to thank them and thank you and your staff, Mr. Fetter. So. Moving along, we're going to open to the public. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. Complete copies of the rules that govern this portion of the meeting are available to the public at the back of the room, and you can obtain an advance copy by contacting the board office during regular business hours. We reserve the right to limit each speaker to not more than 3 minutes. It is our plan to listen to each member of the public. We will note all questions and comments made. Once all questions and comments from all members of the public are made, the Board of Education will respond if necessary to questions or comments in the most timely and efficient manner available. Please consider not repeating comments and questions made by other members of the public. I ask that you state your name, spell your last, place of residence, on your group affiliation. Mr. Pulaski, anyone a call prior to the meeting to speak?
At this time, we have no pre-registrations, but we do have somebody in the audience that would like to address the board.
Go ahead. Please go to the mic. Like I said, state your name, spell your last, and give us the place of your residence.
Yes, my name is Virender Thakur. I live in South Brunswick, Monmouth Junction. And, first of all, sorry to interrupt you earlier. This is my first time. And, Mr. Farrer, when you were talking, you did mention that this was a big day, and I do understand it was a big day. And you also mentioned that I hope someone can appreciate it. Just to let you know, we appreciate a lot as a community. Last year was very challenging for everybody, and the way you managed the school district was great. You kept us up to date with what's going on or what's not. We hear your voice on our voicemails all the time, and everybody knows you in the community. With that said, last year was very well managed. One of my daughter was a senior in high school. Nothing really changed. She went to do a great medical program this year, so it was a great virtual program. I have a son also who's 80-year-old. You can see the difference. So, and I reached out to you via email. You have answered me already, but I would like to repeat my question. The way you manage the virtual school very well, you have a plan in place, you know how to do it. What was the rationale behind this decision, whether it's by the governor or anybody, to ask the under 12 years old, under-vaccinated kids to come to school? Why not to give them the hybrid option, Because one thing I do want to mention, if you're not vaccinated, your mental stage is still like the last year. Oh, I should be careful and I should be fearful going out, because it's a very uncertain environment. So what is the rationale? What are we trying to prove? Why not to give them a hybrid option? Want to mention, my son has an asthma problem, and it can be critical sometimes. Second thing, I don't know, I'm coming from the community where parents also sometimes live with us. My parents are back in India. They want to come here, but I'm holding on to that plan because my kid can bring something from outside. So I just wanted to understand, what is the rationale?
Do you mind?
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate the emails. So I think, as I probably shared, this isn't actually our decision. The Board of Education and myself, we cannot make the decision to provide a full virtual program. The governor of New Jersey has made that an edict from his office directly to the Department of Education, directly to districts, that he's taken away the option for parents or districts to provide a virtual option for students for any reason other than a short-term quarantine situation related to COVID only. And I think I did let you know, and I'll be glad to repeat it today as well. I think it's great that you came out tonight. We approached myself and a few superintendents. The county was interested. Our county of Middlesex County was interested in exploring building a full virtual academy for the whole county. And we actually finally got a chance to speak to the Department of Education's assistant commissioner. And we were struck down extremely fast. They said to us, no, you are not allowed to do that. You'd be in violation of state code, and we will not let you do that. You cannot open a virtual school. So we said, well, you do know that there are 32 other states in the country that do that. Pennsylvania, right next door, has a virtual whole program where you could stay as part of your child's school as well as be in a virtual program. We could build something far better than what they have. I know what their program is. We could do something amazing. Let us build it. We could build something amazing. And even if only 1% of the whole state was interested, that's 14,000 kids. 1.4 million kids, 1%, 14,000 kids, a lot of kids. 14,000 would be one of the larger districts in the state if we had a virtual school district like that. So again, while I am a huge proponent that we did not even do real virtual learning last year. What we did last year was called pandemic learning, where we did an amazing job with very challenging circumstances. Imagine what we could do if we actually built it with a purpose in time for our kids. Imagine what could happen. So I'm on your side. Options are good. Doing what we did last year, I wouldn't want to see that again because it wasn't all it was cracked up to be for every kid. But imagine if we could build it for the kids that would be amazing for. So all I can tell you is we are right now going to continue to lobby to try and get this turned. We are not stopping as a county. We are interested in this. And I hope to be able to come back to you with information that would not make a change for any child that didn't want it. Right? Any child that wants to be in person, absolutely, let's do that. Let's do that to the highest degree. But regardless of the pandemic or even post-pandemic, the amazing opportunities exist for our kids. And I'm thinking long past the pandemic, let alone, of course, right now during.
Yeah. Just a last comment. I do appreciate you can build that system very well because we have seen you working. One message from board, I understand it came from the top, but somebody is connecting from here to the top. Tell them your voters in the community also have, you should have responsibility towards them also, Governor. Or tell us, we can move to 20 minutes here in Philly, where we can have that better choice. And we are thinking, many of us, because you cannot just force us, without considering the things in the family and the situation of the kids, there should be an option, or at least some kind of survey to get it done. Just one order, let's show things are normal everywhere is not the way to go.
Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no hands, we'll close the public portion. Open to board comments. No, board comments? No, sorry. Board committee reports. Mr. Scaletti, I know you weren't able to come last time. Do you have a facilities committee report?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay.
We met on August 24th. We met over in Black Horse Lane. We discussed all the projects that went on this summer. There was flooring, there was paving, concrete, roofing. We had a big project going on at the high school with water coming in through the roof and everything. We took care of that. There was a lot of different projects, bathrooms we did, sewer lines, grease trap lines. Brian and his team did a lot of work this summer. And I just want to thank them for all their hard work that they did all summer long, as well as getting everything done on time, on their budget and everything else to get the school year open for today. And, going around the schools last week and stuff and talking with Brian, a lot of stuff was all wrapped up and all looked good. And again, I want to thank him. The schools were spotless. They're all ready to go, nice and clean, all sanitized. And I really do appreciate all their hard efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Mehta, you have anything on policy?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the consent agenda tonight, the Policy Committee is putting forward the policies for adoption reviewed in Alert 224. As always, these policies were reviewed by the committee and any department necessary to ensure they adhere to district standards and protocols. On the agenda, you will see our second reading and adoption of Alert 224. Most notable in this alert is Policy 1648, Restart and Recovery Plan, the Road Forward COVID-19, Health and Safety to address the road forward and to provide school districts a framework to develop their reopening plans for 2021-2022 school year. The road forward requires all school districts to plan to provide full-day, full-time, in-person instruction and operations for the 2021-2022 school year, which is addressed in Policy Guide 1648.11. Also noted in this alert is Policy 1648.02. Remote learning options for families is abolished. Therefore, as per the Governor, families will no longer have the option to elect to keep their children at home for remote virtual instruction for 2021-2022 school year for COVID-19 related matters. Finally, as part of my report, 6 statutes were updated that impact the physical education curriculum and program. They are as follows: NJSA 18A 35 5A, Sexual Abuse and Assault Awareness and Prevention Education, NJSA 18A 35-4 36A, Curriculum to include instruction on diversity and inclusion, NJSA 18A 35-4 38, Incorporation of Age-Appropriate Instruction relative to consent for physical contact and sexual activity, NJSA 18A 35-4 39, Health Curriculum to include instruction on mental health, NJSA 18A 35-4 40, Information about New Jersey Safe Haven Infant Protection Act included in public school curriculum, NJSA 18A 35-443, Infusion of African American accomplishments into the school curriculum. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mrs. Mehta. Moving to the right side, Mrs. Rogers, you got anything on curriculum?
Yes, just a couple of things. First, our next meeting, the Curriculum Committee is scheduled prior to the next board meeting on September 22nd. Also, as chairwoman of the Curriculum Committee, I would also like to address comments that were made regarding curriculum through multiple venues, including curriculum, professional development plans, lesson plans, as well as social justice. For anyone interested in learning more about the district curriculum, this information, along with the professional development information and guides, can be located by visiting our district website. The information has been available to the public for years. Included in this area are the parent curriculum guides for each subject area from K through 12, and these contain summaries, rationales, interdisciplinary connections, New Jersey standards, course resources, including the textbook, and both formative and summative assessment tools, as well professional development information, which includes mentoring and student teaching requirements. Third, we also reflect the Senior Citizen Outreach Program, which provides an intergenerational program guide. And finally, the South Brunswick Reads Program, which provides the district readings from 2011. Regarding questions about posting individual lesson plans, lesson planning is created by the individual teacher and includes things like books, articles, video clips, songs, assignments, and web pages. Teaching is an art and a science, and teachers are trained professionals in instructional delivery. They use the curriculum as a guide, and we have district supervisors who oversee their work. We have a program in place to ensure oversight of the lesson plan. But to share the lesson plans is not realistic. We do not want our teachers to be robots. Thus, they have latitude to put together an instructional lesson plan using the curriculum as the foundation. I hope that helps in understanding how lesson plans are created and utilized. And finally, regarding social justice, as you may recall, Dr. Disler provided an overview of the district's next steps on social justice, including a review of the social studies curriculum. This board is very focused on equity, and it continues to identify ways to ensure children are not judged by the color of their skin. Superintendent Federer has presented many times how this district is working towards this end, and it all can be found under the strategic plan, which is posted on the district website. And as stated, the Curriculum Committee will be reviewing the social studies curriculum, and we are committed to identifying areas of inequity that need improvement. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't believe there's anyone else. Closing board committee reports. Can I get a motion on tonight's consent agenda? Moved by Mr. Mitchell. I have a second. Second by Mrs. Rogers. Can I get a roll call?
No, discussion.
Oh, discussion. That's right. Discussion, please. Anybody have anything to discuss from tonight's agenda? Yes, Mrs. Rogers.
It's not on the agenda. No, I had a question.
Oh, Mrs. Smith. Sorry.
Agenda item 1.
Smith.
So,
I don't have I don't have anything on the consent agenda, but I had a question on Mr. Feder's update, Mr. President. Can I go ahead now? No?
Smith,
Afterwards?
yeah, so.
Okay.
Just, again, it's a great, thank you, because we want to keep doing that. So for right now, this part, it will be that. At the end, there's board comment.
Okay.
And I'll be able to help.
So I have another comment on the confidential that we had. So can that go now? No?
No,
Okay, only the consent. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll wait.
yeah. Sorry, Smith. We'll answer, well, I'll get you what you need, though, okay? All right.
Any comments on tonight's consent agenda? Or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Pulaski, can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Raja Krishna? Mr. Ray Keener?
Yes.
Mrs. Joyce Mehta?
Yes.
Mr. Mike Mitchell?
Yes.
Dr. Stephen Parker?
Yes.
Dr. Smita Raj?
Yes.
Mrs. Lisa Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph Scaletti?
Yes.
Mr. Barry Nathanson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Board comments and communication. Yeah, go ahead.
Just, Smith, again, we're going to have you go first, but on the confidential update, can we hold that one? Because some of it might be confidential, and it might still be confidential. And that way, I don't want to do that, but if, once I know what it is, I might be able to answer it in public, okay? But we want to start with your other part first.
So, Mr. Feder, you mentioned about Department of Health calling Mr. James Conroy about a student testing positive.
Yes.
Right? So, is that the standard operating procedure where the Department of Health calls up Mr. Conroy to inform any student that tested positive? So, if that is the standard operating procedure, it is very inefficient given that they took a whole 7-day period to inform the school and inform the administration, and that can potentially be disastrous if you think of super spreaders.
Yeah, this one could have been.
Yeah,
I actually brought it up for that purpose, to show the kind of things we do deal with. What happened in this particular case is the nurse did know that there was a child who was COVID. The child of that school, the nurse did know. But there was nothing about the sport or that child being involved in a team sport over the summer that had just met as early as August 31st. That information was never shared with us. If the Department of Health had not called us, that information would have absolutely slipped past us, because we can't know about things that happen that we don't know about. So what we did do is we spoke to all the people that could have been involved and kind of went over with them our expectations and procedures. And I spoke to the person directly on this matter. Mr. Conroy spoke to people directly on this matter. And I think we've cleared that issue up. But this is the challenge we're going to face. The idea of things that happen outside of school, our nurses still need to know so we can do the appropriate contact tracing. Right. Otherwise, we would never have known this happened because it was never shared with us until the health department called us. That's a break. Not a break in the school system, it's a break outside of the school system that we still have to try and fix, because it ultimately does affect the school system.
Yeah.
So on this particular one, we're fortunate. We were given information. We then followed up with all of the key people outside of the school district that were involved, explained what needed to happen, what should have happened, and what still needed to happen in the future, and reopened that communication component, so hopefully we'll never be in that situation again. With that said, all we can continue to do is ask our community, all aspects of our community, to let us know information so that we can act. I am confident that everyone involved in this particular case fully understands the responsibilities that need to occur. But again, we got lucky because the health department is very good. They speak with Mr. Conroy and do inform us of cases, but not all the time, because often we know much before they did. So our nurse actually knew about this COVID positive case prior to the health department calling us. That's the way it usually happens. So that was all good. We just didn't know all the pieces because not everyone shared what needed to be shared with us. It's kind of complicated, and I can't obviously share more specifically, so I'm a little bit vague on purpose, unfortunately, because this stuff is confidential, but I can share what I was able to share just now.
Yeah, understandably so. There is a HIPAA and all the regulations that come into play. But is there any way we can sort of centralize the information, have a sentinel service where any child tests positive, we get automatically informed about at least in the district? Is that even a possibility?
So
to
when
be
things happen in the
considered?
district, it's easy. It's when they happen outside of the district. None of this happened in the district.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, in the district, we have a whole central program for in-district.
Okay.
But we can't make people tell us things that happen outside of our jurisdiction.
Understandable.
This was all outside of our jurisdiction. Nothing to do with the schools at all. Otherwise, if it was one of our teams, we would have known. It was nothing to do with the schools.
Okay.
So again, we got lucky on this one, but what we wanted to do is make sure the people involved did know what our expectations were for anything related to COVID situations, so that we can help. We weren't looking to not help. We'll always help, but we didn't even know. So it's very hard for me to build a system for what happens in your house,
Understandable. Yeah.
but I would like to.
So just to piggyback that, so the parent told the nurse, the school?
Yeah, I don't want to get too specific.
Right.
We did know
Okay.
pieces of information,
Okay.
but not the breadth of information.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Parker?
Yes, Dr.
Can I
Barker.
follow up on that? I mean, if a child tests positive, how far previous
Yeah.
do you have to go?
So we go back to the last contact. So while the test might have been, let's say, September 2nd, might have been the test, we go back to the last contact, 48 hours prior. And so in that case, was there an event that occurred that multiple kids may have been at? If the answer is yes, we then have to determine if they were close contact. To remind the board and the public, a close contact is defined as within 3 feet, unmasked, for a 15-minute period over a 24-hour period. And in this case, that was done last night, and any exclusions that needed to occur were taken care of before the school day started.
Right, so it's a 48-hour period to go
Prior
back.
to, it all depends on, that's why we get our nurses involved, because they're the experts, and Mr. Conroy. But if a test happened on a Monday and they don't find out until Wednesday, and if there were symptoms on the Monday, it's 48 hours before the symptoms,
Okay.
not before the test.
Okay.
So it's possible on a 10-day quarantine, 4 of the days might already have been counted.
Right.
And that's how we do it. Each one is individual. While I can write up plans and show you all on a grid, it still comes down to the case-by-case scenario and how it plays out.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyone else to the right? Yes, Mr. Mitchell, go ahead.
Yes, I would just like to congratulate, first of all, our superintendent and his illustrious staff for the job that they did today in welcoming back students to our district schools. I'd like to, on a more personal note, let all of our staff members know, all of our children know, that I could relate to what you went through today, because it was my first day back welcoming students in my district. So it was quite a day. It was quite a day. I understand, support you. I'm sure our fellow board members do as well. And I want to thank you for taking that step and for stepping out and coming back and being a part of the whole school system, the whole school experience as we once experienced it before this pandemic that we've gone through and still actually going through, as our superintendent alluded to. So I'd like to thank you for that. And also, for our members of the community who are here, we certainly appreciate seeing you each and every time. And that's it. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
President.
And back at you, Mike. Congratulations on your day.
Mr. Keener.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what was said at the beginning of the meeting, how important it is that we really do not forget and keep in our thoughts those that lost their lives and those that still struggle with the events that happened on 9/11, which was 20 years ago today. I know that there are still people that struggle with that every day, and it's important that we don't forget those people. With regards to the opening, yeah, welcome back. What a great feeling it was to see students actually walking into school together to socialize and to learn. And this was my second time that I was able to see that, because my district went back last year and my district here went back today. So I was able to see those kids, and it was a great feeling to see those kids going where they belong, into school and learning and being together. As to what Mr. Federer said at the beginning, it wasn't perfect, but we will improve. Not only did our staff and our administrators, secretaries, nurses, and custodial staff do a great job getting ready. Most of them, some I personally know, are still at work, working late hours tonight so that they can improve on what's happening. I know our secretaries and our administrators are passing notes and emails back and forth, hey, this needed to be taken care of and that needs to be addressed, and they're doing it as we speak. So I thank you for everything you're doing and that you have done. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mrs. Matter, go ahead.
I'm not going to repeat the comments that have been made by my colleagues, but I do certainly agree with them. As a parent, first, today was a day filled with anxiety, but I think that the community came together, the parents came together, the students were on top form. Everybody was in masks, and just kudos to you all, Mr. Feder, and to your administration, especially the teachers. Everybody is trying to do the best they can in these challenging times. So just want to say, as a parent, we see the efforts that have been made today. And of course, we will improve day by day, and we will try to resolve any issues that come before us. We will try to find solutions as best we can. So I wanted to recognize that. Secondly, Mr. Feder, I too have a small request. It's kind of like connected to the update, but not directly about the update. It's something that's I feel can be said in public, but if you would like me to reserve the comment until executive session, please let me know, and I'm happy to do that.
If it's from the confidential update, not knowing what you're going to say, I think I'd have to say, let's wait until we're in confidential.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Scalati.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not going to say everything that everybody's been saying here tonight, but I really have to. I want to thank the parents mostly. You know, Scott said since March of 2020, we've been out, and there's been thousands and thousands of emails, and things have changed and everything like that. And today we actually got to go back to school. You know, and it was definitely a team effort. It was a community effort today. It was the parents understanding all the changes constantly. It was the teachers constantly changing and what they did last year. Everybody down to the custodians getting everything prepped for today. So it was definitely not only a team effort, Scott's team effort, and the teachers and administrators, but it was definitely a community. The community came together today, and we got our kids back. So thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I say ditto to what has been said, but I want to also thank our students who are the best around, and they are back, and I think that's important. Couple things. This week was Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year. So I want to wish a Happy New Year to all that observe that holiday. And next week is Yom Kippur, which is the most religious holiday in the Jewish religion. So I want to wish everybody a easy fast as we go into the meat of September again. We have a great staff, we have a great student body, and I know we're going to, all these quirks, and I'm going to say quirks, all going to be ironed out, and we're going to come back to where we were. and I'll continue where we were. So that being said, I'd like to get a motion for adjournment to go to executive session.
Into executive session.
Moved by Dr. Parker, second by Mrs. Meadow. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of South Brunswick hereby moves into executive session in accordance to the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4-6 through 10:4-21 to discuss the following personnel and student matters. Sorry. It's hard to. Be it resolved that the discussion conducted in executive session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the matters have been resolved. Formal action may be taken at any meeting. Good night, South Brunswick.